Harvard is arguably the world's best known and most prestigious university. This institution, which shapes the American elite, has become a flashpoint in the US reaction to the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Israeli violence has deprived Palestinians the dignity of burying their dead.
This is a member of the Palestine Support Committee, the first student group to issue a statement after October 7th. It was contentious, notably because it accused Israel of being entirely responsible for the Hamas attack, without a word for the Israeli victims.
It was just intended to contextualize the situation within 75 years of occupation, within decades of siege, within apartheid, within settler colonialism, within ethnic cleansing. And I think it was supposed to warn of the coming violence that we would surely see in weeks to follow.
There has absolutely been a double standard in how mainstream media approaches this. We need to recognize the Zionist regime for what it is, and that is a settler colonial regime that seeks to wipe the historic land of Palestine clean of any Palestinians in order to create their own land that excludes and eliminates other people.
That discourse, often heard by Palestinian activists, however, is deemed extreme by the majority of Israeli students at Harvard. Maya and Shani are originally from Tel Aviv and were active with the Israeli left against Benjamin Netanyahu's government.
What got us here and how can we change course for the future?
But since October 7th, they have been stigmatized for their nationality and feel completely isolated. Shani has even resigned from her student union.
The union, ever since October 7th, we issued multiple statements condemning the actions of Israel and the war in Gaza, with no mention of October 7th and what Hamas did, as if Israel is just started attacking in Gaza for no reason. The union refused to discuss adding anti-Semitism to one of the things they condemn, together with Islamophobia and racism. People that think they're on the left but think that extending solidarities to Israelis would somehow take away from support of solidarity on Palestinians. At this point, they stopped being on the left.
Harvard waited 4 days before issuing a clear statement condemning the October 7th attack, a silence that Maya considers demagogic and dangerous.
Trying to not upset anyone many times is the wrong strategy because you end up upsetting everyone. If we're unable here to have an honest conversation with academic integrity, rooted in facts, a conversation that could be very difficult for me as an Israeli to hear. And part of the reason I came here, I'm up for that. I want to be challenged, I want to think critically. I hope I'll change my views on a number of issues, but that's not the conversation we're having.
Since October 7th, anti-Semitic incidents have increased by 400% in the United States, including at Harvard. Jacob Miller is president of the Hillel Campus Group, the largest Jewish university organization in the United States. He's worried by the current climate.
There have been many posts that have been deeply anti-Semitic on Instagram and on this anonymous social media app called SideChat. In order to sign in, you have to use a Harvard email. So I know that everyone who's posting on it is a Harvard affiliate, but I don't know exactly who it is. So there was this one post that said, "Now I fully understand how Jews control the media." There was another post right after October 7th that said, "Let him cook." It's a very strange experience to then be expected to kind of go back to campus and to classes and to clubs with these people who've posted these things unapologetically.
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is almost unique in the deep rift it creates amongst people internationally. But at Harvard and the wider US, it has become a matter of domestic politics.
People have this idea of oppressed people just struggling and that that's all the same kind of phenomenon, or, people of color, resisting kind of white colonizers when, most Israelis aren't white. It's hard to really say that they're colonizers because Jewish people had a connection to the land prior to that. And so the parallel doesn't fit so well.
Faced with criticism and pressure from its donors, Harvard has finally created a committee to combat anti-Semitism, but no group to combat Islamophobia, which is also on the rise. A few weeks ago, this truck circles the campus with the faces and names of pro-Palestinian students to denounce their activism. But that hasn't stopped them from organizing daily events in the university grounds, such as this installation depicting life in Gaza.
You have home, you have school, you have hospital, and what it does is it tries to show you that Palestinians, the people being killed every single day in Gaza, are normal people.
Fawaz Malki studies history at Harvard. He's American, born of Palestinian parents, and therefore directly affected by the war in Gaza. He too feels abandoned by the university.
Anti-Palestinian racism, Islamophobia is not being confronted at this university in the manner that it should be. There's plenty of students who wear hijabs, who have, had their hijab pulled. They've been spat at. People who wear keffiyehs, a Palestinian cultural scarf, a symbol that stands for Palestinian liberation, who've been told there's no justification for terrorism. And it's heartbreaking because those are things that our grandparents wore, their grandparents wore, long before any sort of terrorist group that you want to blame ever existed.
Harvard and several other universities are now under federal investigation for anti-Semitism and Islamophobia under the Civil Rights Act. The Act prohibits discrimination based on race, color, or origin at any institution receiving funding from the U.S. Department of Education.